In my journey of life, I've heard from countless people, you got to get out of your head, man. You got to get out of your head. You're going to drive yourself nuts. And on some levels, I think I understand what they mean. But I'm not so sure those people necessarily know what it's like to be or to feel trapped in your head. I have, and I don't know who knows about this stuff, believes it or any of that stuff. And if you don't, then you don't. I have a Aquarian sun and a Gemini rising. And when you analyze the character traits of each of these signs, one of the predominant things about them is that they're both very cerebral, both very intellectual, very analytical, very, hungry for knowledge, want to know, don't accept things, etc., etc., etc. And I can say that I am pretty much in my head. I'm not sure that I know how to consciously get out of my head. It's a lot of work. And that has been perplexing to me. Am I locked in my head? I don't know. One of the things that I've gotten from existing in my head, whether that's left brain, right brain, or balanced, is a lot of analyzation, a lot of using processing, deductive processing, reasoning, considering what we've been told versus what it is that I see versus what it is I experience, etc., etc., etc. And there's conflict in all of it. There's contradictions in all of it. The barrage that we as a species have experienced on our minds for such a long time, I believe makes it so difficult for people to have much of a sense of which direction to go. Atheists think they got it. Spiritual people think they got it. Christians think they got it. Muslims think they got it. Jews think they got it. Everybody thinks they've got it. Everybody says, and it sounds like there's some truth to it. All paths are many, truth is one, whatever. I think there's many truths. I continue to try to make sense of the experience. I consider to try to wonder what this is for. And there are those that will say it's the journey of the soul and learning, etc., etc. Doesn't make any sense because we don't retain any of the knowledge that we leave life with, that I'm aware of. And if we're a soul that is being taught when we're back in the body, if we get recycled, we don't retain it. We don't have access to any of the knowledge the soul has garnered. So it's just the weirdest dynamic. And that dynamic may very well just be a story we've been all told that isn't rooted in reality, which is partially why it makes interpreting it also confusing. On so many levels, most of us, and I've put myself into the category of most, really don't have any sense of what's real, what's true, because we've never been given a foundation of truth. And people will knee-jerk response to their foundation of truth is their religion, their belief in God and all that other stuff. And if they only had a comprehension of the grander nature of this thing and considered the other side of the story that they've been told. But the story they've been told in the religious indoctrination prevents most of them from even being willing to consider the other side of the story, acknowledge that there is another side of the story. It's just all bad, all bad, all bad, so I won't take it in. I won't let it taint my mind. If it somehow changes my Christian perspective, it's the devil trying to get into my mind, and all of that just is seems like a snake eating its tail, and most people won't break out of that belief system. It's the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing. Whether it's by beings outside of this world, be our own kind, or a combination of efforts from multiple levels, outside and inside. There have been so many veils placed over our eyes, our minds, our perceptions, so many obstacles placed in the path of actually knowing the truth. Plus, we're put into this experience of humanness where, we're plagued with these things called emotions and blah, blah, blah. It's just, the more I analyze this, the more it feels like and seems like and sounds like just a really twisted version of the Twilight Zone. Like I said this before, combined with copious amounts of Idiocracy and 1984, Orwellian, all this shit. It's like, I can't imagine why something that people would consider benevolent would throw a bunch of people into a construct where everything in nature kills, preys, kills, and eats everything else, where we do what we do to each other, where suffering is at the absolute core of the experience, and there are so many other absurdities that are to add to that equation that make the whole construct the most absurd thing. And I feel like an island unto myself because in my efforts to feed my mind, educate myself, expand my awareness and consciousness and knowledge, and improve myself, improve the knowledge so that my awareness and all that other stuff would expand. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, entheogens, launching out of the body, experiencing directly pieces of what's out there, experiencing for myself the dramatic contrast in what I've experienced, what I've seen, versus what we've all been told. And quite frankly, it's just brought me to a place where I don't want to participate in this. At the fundamental, at the most foundational level of the human experience, we are creatures that will desire things. Yet the spiritual yogis and gurus and monks and all that stuff will tell you that the root of all suffering is desire. But just by our makeup, desire is the necessary thing, or we won't do anything. Desire begets intention, which begets will, which begets action, right? So without desire, we do nothing. You know, on the most simplest and fundamental levels, bodily functions produce a desire to eliminate waste, to drink, to quench thirst, to eat, to quench hunger. Basic desires, these desires we have to connect to human beings, the desires for intimacy, love, the desires for companionship, friendship, connectedness with others. It's all by design that we have desire. Yet at the most foundational levels of the human experience, suffering is with us all, in varying degrees for everyone, but everybody's known suffering. I don't care who you are. Hell, even in the stories that we're told, this thing called Christ, which is supposed to be a piece of God, experienced suffering. This construct is designed for suffering, and we've all mind-fucked ourselves, or a lot of people have, into this place where there's some deep nobility in sufferance, and it's making me stronger in my care. And it's like, what in the hell? It's just the sickest, most sadistic thing, psychopathic thing, where we're going to create a construct for a race of sentient, intelligent, aware beings to be in that at the foundational levels of the experience is going to be suffering on top of ignorance, manipulation, and just all of this stuff. We weren't created to be blissful beings. We weren't created to be beings that just enjoyed life. We weren't created for a positive, benevolent purpose. And those that are steeped in the religious dogmatic indoctrination will adhere to that because it feels good. It gives them some positive sense that the whole purpose of our being here is good. And it just... I've gotten to a point where, and I don't say this from a place of arrogance, because I don't, believe me, I assure you, I don't have any high-level views of myself as being so goddamn great. It's just a matter of having chosen to educate myself on a level that few people will. And that's not saying I'm some PhD. It's just what I've chosen to educate myself to is so drastically different than what most will. I see things that most people don't. Other people that continue down this journey would probably say similar things. We see, when you get to a level, it starts to separate you from the herd, the knowledge that you possess. I'm in a place where it has separated me so much from the herd because Well, the herd's doing all the things the herd's doing. And I've chosen to sacrifice doing any of that for many years now and educated myself. And now I'm in a different book of the voluminous encyclopedia known as the human journey of life or the human life experience. And I just can't do it. If I'm 5 volumes ahead of you, I have a difficult time connecting with you because the level of knowledge that I have about the nature of existence and why we're here on yours is just so drastically different. But not you personally, I'm just saying in general. And then when I talk to people who don't realize that, and then I talk about shit that's so far over their head or in such contrast to what they think they know, their ego kicks in because to them, I'm just some average guy. So why would I have any more extraordinary knowledge than they do about the nature of this thing, claiming to know, the ego kicks in when you hear somebody say or claim to have a comprehension of the grander nature of reality and everybody else thinks they do. So this ego mechanism kicks in and it just creates this rift, this separation. And, I'm not the best at being a people person and being tolerant of the ignorance that is so rampant. And when ignorance doesn't want to learn and stands in, I just know, it's just like, all right, whatever. So therefore, I don't have much in common with most folks at this point, aside from the fact I'm wearing a meat suit and require water, food, sleep, and, those basic things. It's a really challenging place in life to be. It is a really challenging place in life to be. Knowing that suffering is at the root of all of this, and that desire is at the root of suffering. It's just, on some levels, that causes me to short circuit. When I look back at my own personal life, and people could assume that it's all me. But when I look back at the relationships that I've had in my life with family, friends, women, all of them have been a source of suffering, pain, heartache. And it's like, but we're designed to be social creatures that desire and need that connection generally. So there's another crazy contradiction of the equation, or another crazy aspect of the equation that we're all fucking stuck in here. That we're social creatures and we desire the company of others and connection and love and all that other stuff. Yet when we go after those things to such a large degree, they're a source of pain and heartache and suffering and blah, blah, blah. I get it. Some people will certainly say, well, there's lots to learn and from, dealing with people. And I get it. I get it. It's not like I'm not in contemplation of these things. But when I start looking at the fact that what the hell's it all for? Because we're going to die. We're not going to take any of it with us. All this supposed knowledge that we get about it just doesn't make any sense. And the power structure on this planet has created this money thing that has poisoned the minds of humans, that has created an environment where we have to pay to live on the planet that we were born on, which on its face is the most ridiculous, ludicrous, absurd thing that I could think of. But because of this construct, if you see your slavery and you don't want to work for some dead entity known as a corporation, work for an organization that has a human resources department, work for a corporation where the fruits of your labor make them billions of millions of dollars, and I'm saying not yours individual, all of us collectively as the slaves that we are, make these people, these corporations, and we just get meager paychecks. Most of us get meager paychecks and become content with the average existence, the average experience that we have that is largely predicated upon the money that we bring in this life. Not everybody in this life is trained and taught about the nuances of money and how to bring it in to your life, the connection between energy and money and how that all works. Therefore, most of us stay content with the salaries that we make that keep most of us living from paycheck to paycheck and no more than 3 months away from bankruptcy or total collapse. And that is the harsh reality of what this world has become. And when you start looking at the fact that other men have created this for us, it's just like, you got to be kidding me. I continue to look for the silver lining, the gold lining, the platinum lining in the experience. But the trump of all of it is, all these things we say we learn through the journey of the human experience is for naught if we're wiped when we die, formatted, and it just doesn't make any sense. There's probably pieces I don't have yet that might help me to understand greater things. But if you think it's some religious piece of knowing God better or something like that, then I would suggest that you keep that advice to yourself. Seriously, just don't even comment on that shit. And if you do, you're obviously trying to be an asshole, and I'll block you and make it so that you can't comment again. Everybody's so, what's the word? Hypnotized, in a trance. And what we experience has become the status quo. The ubiquity of the ridiculousness of this has been with us. It's been all of this ridiculous shit has been so persistent, so pervasive in our lives that we have become used to it. It's the status quo. It's what we know. We've adjusted in such a way that it's the norm. The sickness of the society that we live in that has been created and the malignancy that it's become has become the norm. This is not okay with me. And to interact with any human being that does not see that, we're not vibing. We're not resonating together. We're not going to connect. We're not going to make a bond. And it's only because I can't force you to see that. And if you don't see that, then you're at a level that's going to require such a long time for you to take in information and learn, to understand, to comprehend it all. And learning and comprehension comes in levels or layers. And they stack on top of each other. And you can't get to the layer 3 of learning without obviously without having gone through layer 2. One stacks on the other, and you can't get to layer 5. You just can't do it until you've gone through layer 1 through 4. You can never get to 5. There's no mechanism to get to 5 until you've gone through 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm using these numbers as an analogy about the layers of learning that beget new comprehensions, and that without one, you won't have the other. And I would suggest that from the place I'm coming from, I'm many more levels ahead of a lot of folks. Not because I'm so great, not because of anything that feeds my ego or makes me think I'm better than anybody else. I'm as average and normal as everybody else, with the exception of maybe how I choose to think about things and the fact that I've chosen to self-educate myself on levels that few will ever endeavor to do because they're so caught up with, well, get up, go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, raise your kids. And I know you got to raise your kids. If you got kids, I get it. But I don't have kids, so I've never been obligated to that. I just see the plight of not having the time. Therefore, most people will never do what I've done. I've never been married, don't have any kids, don't have that whole thing that obligates me to hours and hours a day of my attention being diverted to something else that requires it, that needs my attention and my every aspect of me because, well, I gave it life and I need to teach it and raise it and cultivate it. I don't have those obligations. So I've been able to spend that time feeding my mind, trying to grow in my comprehensions of everything spiritually and every other way I can possibly induce any growth in me as a being of intellect and intelligence. And in that path, on that journey, this is where I've come to. It makes it really challenging to want to continue to be here, to not just literally go put a bullet in my head to say, fuck this, and not contribute. It does. I mean, when I think about it, it's like a bullet in the brain would be an instant exit to this construct. Instant. No pain, no suffering, boom, done. And if there is pain, it's milliseconds or just seconds, and then boom, you're out of here. You're out of here, you're breaking through the barrier. It's like I'm not so depressed that I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do it. But fuck, that thought keeps crossing my mind. Because I keep saying to myself, I want out. I want out of this motherfucker. I'm in my mid-40s. And recently coming to many of these understandings or comprehensions. And when I realize and grasp the degree of knowledge that I need to possess and then master in order to truly effectively move through this life with any degree of power that does anything, I have a lifetime of learning to do. And I'm already halfway or more through my life. So it feels very, 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 what's the word? I feel defeated in many ways because it's like I'm not going to live forever. I got, 25, 30 years left on this planet? I don't know. Maybe less. Who knows? I could die tomorrow. And one of the things that chaps my ass the most is when I look back at the last 46 years, it's like, fuck, man. So few occasions in my life have I ever stepped into actually living. So, yeah. And I consider to myself to be a being of logic, reason, intellect, and all of that stuff. I'm not ruled by my emotions, in the way that I used to be. I'm still affected by my emotions, but I have a much more, I don't know, I have a much better grasp on them. And I'm not saying what I'm saying about, as an example, putting a bullet in my head, as from some place of just being overloaded with this emotion that I can't control. It seems like the most logical explanation to end the suffering, to just get the fuck out of here. Not having a family, not having a wife, not having any of the things that most people that have been conforming to the society and living in the society have, may play a part of it, may very well play a part in it, but it wasn't obviously part of what I was supposed to do. I don't even know why I'm saying it that way. It just wasn't in the cards this go around. It literally makes getting up every day and facing this world, experiencing this shit, a very challenging thing. I may have some people on my YouTube channel that subscribe to what I say that get what I mean, have some sense of it all. Some, maybe not all, some. And that may be the one most concentrated place that I know of on this planet where there's anybody that gets it or is looking to get it on a deeper level. Are. When I walk out my front door and go experience the world, I consider myself lucky to run into somebody that's halfway awakened. It's a very isolating thing to begin to rise yourself out of a level of ignorance that the masses that surround you are content with. For whatever reason. I don't know, man. I don't know what it was. I don't know. I say something came along and I attribute it to something spiritual that just kind of grabbed me by the shoulders firmly and pulled my head from out of my ass. And I have attributed it to something bigger than myself, some spiritual entity, whatever. But it may very well not be that. It may very well be the byproduct of the fact that I induced so much suffering into my life that I began to ask bigger questions, and slowly this process of arising in knowledge and awareness, or awareness and then knowledge and then content. I don't know. So one way or another, the process happened. And now I have gotten so far beyond where I ever used to be that those that used to know me still are incapable of seeing me as anything else other than what they used to know. And everybody in my experience tends to think that because I'm not swimming in seas of money and stable in that financial way and all that other stuff, that I just haven't figured certain things out. It's just like, all right, whatever. One of my biggest frustrations in this life is the gotcha that man has put in front of us of, you've got to be a slave and work 40 hours a week to even survive on this planet, or become a homeless person and beg, or master how money works. Well, I don't know how that works, or how that energetic connection works. I've never figured that out. I keep hearing about it, don't know quite what it means. I don't fully yet understand how some of the most horrible people on the planet can be some of the richest people that exist. And those of us that aren't, that just want to actually experience some freedom from the financial slavery. I don't know how to say what I'm trying to say. It's just been the most challenging thing, figuring out this goddamn money thing, this money game. And obviously the Jew population, most of them know it. So I don't know. My efforts to try to awaken people's minds, I don't know how far that goes. I really don't. I see I have a subscriber base, but I see that the numbers of subscribers that I have in comparison to the views that I get are, the difference is significant. So I'm really not getting my message out there all that much. I tell myself, and I do this because, well, I hope that it has an effect on stimulating minds. But when I really look at the numbers, it's like, there's not all that many people out there interested in what it is that I have to say. I would suspect that many people that watch what it is that or pay attention to what it is that I do, on some levels do it for entertainment value. I would suspect there's some Christians out there that tell themselves that I'm a perfect example of what a lost soul looks like, and use me as an example of what not to do or something like that. There's all kinds of reasons why people could follow my stuff, but out of almost 2,800 subscribers, I am coming to the conclusion that the vast majority of the people who are following my stuff aren't doing it because they want to rise in levels of knowledge and awareness that so far surpass the herd. It's not funny. I think it's for different reasons. I see I've been getting, up to 250 views. So maybe there's people out there that are like, man, this dude's really tapping into something. And I'm learning a lot, or he's helping me to broaden my perspective. And if that's the case, then that gives me a warm and fuzzy feeling in my heart. But other than that, I don't know what the fuck effect I'm having out there. And it's probably not that much. Oh well, it is what it is. I'm just your average schmuck. So with your typical genetic mutt mix of who I am, so it's not like I'm some special person. On some levels, I actually think that this has been given to me for not beneficial reasons, that it's been given to me to show me the nature of my prison, to show me the nature of the grander reality of this, to actually further induce more suffering in me. I got to a point where I cleared out all of my baggage after 35 years of suffering. And through my ayahuasca experiences, it was amazing because I literally was able to let go of the byproduct of 30 years of baggage inside of my fourth ceremony, was free of that. And that cleared the clutter out of the mind. That cleared a lot of the clutter out of the mind and allowed room for me to grow. And that process has taken place very rapidly, and aspects of me that were limited because of the clutter in my mind have caught up or are catching up at exponential rates. And my perceptions are changing, my interpretations of this reality are changing, and everything about me is changing. It's like I'm this evolving being, but this evolution is taking place in isolation, which is a challenging thing to go through this process, not having anyone to, share it with, go through it with, kick me in the ass when it knocks me the fuck down and I feel like weak, because that's just part of being human. So many dudes will be like, oh, you're weak, blah, blah. And it's like, fuck you. Be human. Recognize that we're all fucking weak at certain points, and every time, sometimes we need somebody to be there to fucking either kick us in the ass to get the fuck back up or to help us the fuck back up. I don't have that. So every goddamn time I get knocked down, I'm the one that gets myself back up. Lots of other people have people around them to help them get up. And hey, great. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, for me, isolation has been one where every time I fall, and I fall, I'm a fucking human being. I get the fuck back up. And I'm now getting to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm tired of getting up. I'm tired of standing back up and facing the sea of suffering shit that I know this is. One of the things I tell myself is that if I was to put a bullet into my head, with the knowledge that I have about what I will face once I cross, and that I might be able to have some impact in not being recycled again, that may be truly the most freeing thing I could do for myself in this life. That, the barrier of fear is placed in our minds from the beginning, if we're not already wired with it when we're born. Therefore, the concept of ending your life to escape the fucking prison is, oh no, don't do that. Life is so precious. And if you're talking about that, you must be suicidal or depressed or something. And we need to come and do something to you and impose ourselves in you because your view of what this thing is different than ours. So we need to give you some drugs, or we need to have some asshole that calls himself psychiatrist who knows how to mind fuck you come and tell you. It's just like, you gotta be motherfucking kidding me. So I've actually come to a point where I see the prospect of the bullet in the head scenario as the most painless, sweet relief from this sea of suffering in this 3D, 4D construct that all of us were forced into. Spiritual people will tell you signed a soul contract, and that's what they tell themselves to try to make sense of it all. And they just accept that. Oh, okay, well, that feels good. It kind of makes sense, so we're going to go with that. I signed a contract. I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it. I have no conscious memories of it. There's no beacon in me that lets me know this is all for a purpose or a reason. There's no innate knowledge that this is for a purpose that's going to benefit me, versus All of this stuff I'm telling myself or people are telling me is for a purpose that's benefiting me is all the mind fuck that we've all told ourselves that prevents us from accepting the fact that we were put in this motherfucker on purpose. We were put here to be a source of food. We were put here with the intention that we would worship what put us here, but do that from a place of blissful fucking ignorance. And when this thing called Lucifer interjected itself into the human paradigm and gave us knowledge or turned us on to knowledge, this thing that supposedly created us turned out to be this fucking psychopathic, sociopathic fucking thing. And he's like, oh, now that you fuckers know what's going on, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here and fuck you. And basically cursed all of us. Cursed us all, put this magic spell on fucking all of humanity, birth in pain and birth and work and labor and all this fucking ridiculous shit that people get on their fucking knees and pray to. We're all told and conditioned to believe in this God. And what I've come to conclude is none of these motherfuckers, none of them are gods. They're advanced beings, humanoid looking, with more advanced DNA than us, more advanced knowledge than us, been around as a race of beings longer than us, maybe don't die in the way that we do, or have lifespans that go thousands, tens of thousands of years. There's just so many possibilities that I find so much more plausible than any of the shit that we've been told. And these beings created us for this? I don't know of anybody else that knows more of the reality of this, that wants to share it, that wants to tell people the truth. On a lot of levels, the people who do know, I have said and alluded that they were keeping it to themselves for nefarious purposes and to keep them. And on some levels, I think that's true. But then there may be some aspects of the fact that some people who may not be rooted in that shit, that nefarious shit, have knowledge and know. But no matter how much they know, they can't share it with people. Milk for babes. Meat for men. And most of us are babes. Most of us couldn't handle the truth. Most of us have no frame of reference to even know what the truth is. Because all these steps of learning and comprehension, that one begets the other. You can't have the next one without the first, and they all have to step. We're all lacking that foundation. Most of people are lacking that foundation. Therefore, if somebody was to come out and tell us the truth from a place of benevolence and to free humanity from the mind trap and the mind poison, I would say 95%, 90%, in the 90th percentile of the planet, wouldn't accept it, wouldn't know what to do with it, wouldn't believe it, would say it's from the devil or any other thing because of the conditioning, propagandization, indoctrination, and brainwashing of our minds. That's why I said in a previous video, they know about the mental construct. They know about the mental nature of it all. They know about the all is mind. The universe is mental. And there has been an all-out assault on our minds as a population, as a species, for, I couldn't even begin to tell you. I mean, hundreds of years, thousands of years, since the beginning. You hand a race of people a religion that tells them that's going after their minds, and religion's been with us for a long time. So desire creates suffering. Love creates suffering. And it also creates this attachment. It's another aspect of the suffering thing is, depending on what school of philosophy you come from, it could be attachment that creates the suffering or desire that creates the suffering. But either way, attachment comes from human relations, human relationships, human interactions. Yet the attachment to the human, the relationship, usually is going to be rooted in suffering. It's just like the whole thing is not designed for us to feel, experience, or know love. It's designed for us to feel, experience, and know suffering. And those of us that are lucky enough to find love, to find something we think is love, to experience prolonged periods of time of love, even if there's some problems in it, but those people are lucky. But on the same token, they're being anchored into this construct, that attachment to another being. Yeah. See, I'm at a place where I don't have that attachment. I don't have that attachment. There is a woman on this planet that I love very much, but I can't have her, and I won't ever be able to have her. So it helps me very much. And she's in another part of the planet. So it's not ever going to happen. So even though I feel that, I still don't have the attachment. And I'm going to never have that attachment to anyone. Those attachments keep us coming back. Those attachments. Love. You know, when you start looking at words, when you start understanding what they've done to our language, and you look at the word love and then you spell it backwards, it spells evil. E-V-O-L. E-V-I-L, E-V-O-L. Love. Backwards is evil. What's going on there, huh? How could something that we're told is so great, love one another, love God, love, really? Flip that bitch around. That's evil. Something going on there. This love, they say, is the highest vibration, the highest frequency, the most pure thing. But when you flip the word around, it means evil. It says evil. Telling you people, the mind fuck at the fabric of the foundation of this reality is more than most people can understand or willing to understand, because they've got to have some sense of understanding, and they're going to stick with what they think they know. That's all been constructed and handed to them to confine them to the box. I have a t-shirt. I had it made. Walking through the mall in a t-shirt place, it says, "Do not think outside of the box," on the front. And you might walk by me and look at the front of my shirt and be like, what the fuck? It says, "Do not think outside of the box." Well, what the hell is that? And then you turn, and then I walk past you and you look behind me, or you look at my back. It says, "Get out of the box and begin to think." I had that shirt made about 6 years ago. I've been out of the box for a while. And I've been, if nothing else, I've been struggling with aspects of the indoctrinated mind. Still not in the box. I mean, I'm not in the box, but I still recognize that even being out of the box, we carry with us aspects of the indoctrination that we got from our parents, from school, from religion, from government, from TV, from whatever. This is the craziest experience I could imagine. Get on your knees, pray to your God, or he'll put you in hell. God says don't kill, but the very religion that hands us the whole concept of this God is responsible for killing more people on the face of this earth than any other thing that we're aware of. And then the next thing that's responsible for killing the most people is government. God says don't kill unless you're religious and following me or government. Does anybody see the mind fuck in that equation? But everybody's supposed to just get up, go to work, pay your bills, pay your taxes, give up your firearms if they want it. You know, look at all these mass shootings. Then most of the people are just like, God, look at the horrible people. We're not safe. And right, the horrible people are the people in government and the power elite and the fucking minions that they've got working for them for money that are doing this thing to inject this into our experience to, oh boy. Anyway, these monologues are getting old. Not being able to engage with other critically thinking human beings that have some of what it is that I do as a foundational base of knowledge. It's really wearing on me doing these monologues into my recording device. You know, on some levels, it allows me to decompress. It allows me to get it out. It allows me to do it in a way that I hope might stimulate other minds. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not so sure I'm stimulating minds. I'm really not so sure that the vast majority of my subscriber base was either looking for the law stuff that I was doing. You know, you can and I didn't mean it for this. I didn't intend it this way, but I was doing videos on law, and then somehow it hit social media because the videos were decent, and I started amassing subscribers. And then I started doing these videos where I was sharing information and knowledge, books and all that other stuff on law or whatever. Excuse me. And I think those two things might have helped me to amass more of a subscriber base than I expected. And the subscriber base that I'm looking to acquire, if that was a thing, meaning me looking to acquire subscribers, is really not what I'm trying to do, was of like mind, of similar mind, and on a path of learning, that would be better. Because I would feel like I'm doing more. And I suppose if that was the case, and I looked at the subject matters of the videos that I've done over the last 4 or 5 months, and then my subscriber numbers to view ratio, it's out of balance for sure. And an interesting thing is, after I wiped my channel clean and started doing what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks and talking about what I've been talking about, I've been watching my subscribers jump ship left and right, jumping ship. It's weird. It's just the weirdest thing, but it is what it is. But this YouTube channel, as pathetic as this may sound, has been one of the only mechanisms that I've felt like I've been able to, in some way, connect with any other fellow human beings of like mind. And it's the only hope that I've had that I'm doing anything meaningful in this world to contribute to making the world a better place. I mean, like Tupac said, I may not change the world, but I might spark the mind that does. As time goes on, the less I'm feeling that that's real, the more I'm thinking that's just what I'm telling myself. And the more I think I'm making a mockery of myself on a YouTube channel, because I can assure you 85, 90% of the population was to hear what I say, I'd be a laughingstock, a crackpot, all the other stuff. If, as an example, something that I did in the genre of things that I tell people ever made it to the news, they would spin me as the most ridiculous thing. It's just, such is the world we live in. Such is the malignancy of the world we live in. So there's been some fairly famous people that have said, something to the, I can't remember the exact quote, truth becomes a lie and a lie becomes truth, or something like that, where everything's twisted upside down, everything. And lies are truth, war is peace, all that other stuff. Well, lies become peddled as truth, and the truth becomes something that people don't recognize anymore. Yeah, for me, learning, rising in awareness, knowledge, and all that stuff has been really made me disenchanted with this whole experience of life and what it is, why we're here, what it's for. And I find it very challenging to want to contribute on any level. A little personal thing. While I want to find a woman, have a relationship, be connected, share life with somebody, and all that stuff, there's a part of me that knows what that ultimately is. And it's like, as much as I want it and crave it as a human being, the other part of my mind that understands exactly what that is and the likelihood that that will just beget more suffering in my motherfucking life, makes it so that as much as I want it, I push it away. But there's nobody in my life anyway. But if there was, it's just, why bother? Why bother? Motherfuckers will toss you away just as fast as anything else when you don't serve them, when you challenge them on levels that they're not ready to accept, or any other thing. Nobody in this motherfucking world is loyal. At least not that I'm aware of. Loyalty, in my experience of life, is a fucking myth. Blood is thin, thinner than water in my family.